Hello, you are listening to NPE Stories. This is a podcast where NPEs can share their story. I am your host, Lily, and I found out I was an NPE through an ancestry DNA test that changed my life forever. NPE is a term that stands for Not Parent Expected or Non-Paternal Event. This means that one or more of our parents are not who we believe them to be. NPE Stories is a podcast where NPEs can share their story of what their original family was like, how they found out they were an NPE, and what their journey has been like since the day they found out. Welcome to episode 81. Today I am speaking with Jason. Hi, Jason.
Hello, how are you, Lily?
I'm good. It's nice to finally meet you. I've seen you in the forums, and it's nice to be talking to you tonight.
Yeah, nice to be talking to you.
I have read just a few sentences about your story, but I'm looking forward to listening to it tonight. So why don't you tell me what your childhood was like and what your original family was like?
My mother had me at a very young age of 17. She got married to a gentleman that she had met that just gotten home from the military. And it was a pretty close window there. So she was pretty certain, and she was pretty honest with him about it, that I wasn't his child. But he'd always hoped that I was. And so he's the man that raised me as a dad. When I was 4, I had a little brother, and then another little sister when I was around 9 years old. And then my parents got divorced. My mother remarried and had a few more kids with that gentleman as well. When I was about 10, when that divorce happened, my dad got me and my brother, and he had us for a couple of years until he remarried, and then we were sent off to live with our mom at that point. When I was 18 is when my mother told me that he wasn't actually my father. And she thought it was this other gentleman, and so we searched and had found that he had actually committed suicide when I would have been about 11 years old. And so for a few years there, I just didn't really do much about it after that. Fast forward to 2001, so this would have been probably 10 years after. I was married, and my father-in-law was pretty ill, and it was kind of dawned on me that, I'd never spoken with this gentleman named Roy, his family at all. And so I decided, well, I'll reach out to them and try to make contact. Long story short, it's kind of passed around between a few members, and that was a heck of a family dynamic that they had there. Him and his sister were both conceived and born over in Vienna, Austria. Well, their dad was over there serving in the war. And then he got called back, and they were about 4 or 5 when his mother sent for the lady and his 2 children to come over and live here. And then after just a few months of being here, she decided that she didn't want to be with the gentleman anymore because he was a very abusive alcoholic at this point. And so they kind of went their way. And so he was raised by his grandmother, because the mom left and kept the daughter, and he stayed with his father's family, which actually ended up being his grandmother that raised him. So there was a lot of issues that he had there. Not really. His father didn't really have much to do with him, and so it ended up causing some of the issues that he had that eventually led to him dying. But anyways, so that's the reason why I didn't actually reach out to the people, because I didn't know how they were going to feel about it. So when I finally did, his dad talked to me for a couple minutes. Well, nice to meet you, and sent me over to his sister, who sent me to another sister, who sent me to another sister, in this big circle. So then I ended up spending from 2001 through 2018 believing this family was my family, and I got pretty close with one of his sisters, met his mom. I never did meet his dad. And then in 2018, my eldest daughter was getting married, and this aunt was going to come up for the wedding, and I'd never actually sat down and talked with my father about it. and my mother had passed away back in 2009. So me and my brother thought, hey, well, we'll submit to Ancestry and find out if we're half brothers, like like Mom said. And sure enough, it came back that we were, but the last name of the person that I was told was nowhere to be found in there. There was some other names, and with on that guy's father's side, there was a lot of LDS people in the area where we live, where they were from, and there was none of those names. These were all like German and Scandinavian names instead. And so I searched for it took about a year to figure it out. The closest match ended up being a first, cousin of my biological father, and his parent or his dad was one of 21 children. So,
Wait, say that again?
His father, so my grandfather, was one of 21 children.
Oh my gosh.
So as I was trying to pick through the 21 to figure out, which lineage I came from, there was about 5 of the original 21 that were still alive. And we got one of them that finally had submitted. And she come back as like a great aunt in like the 700 centimorgans range. Because before that, all the closer matches were around 270 to about 301 or so like that. And so I'd figured out that, the ones in like that mid 200 to low 300 ended up being either my mother's first cousins or my biological father's first cousins. So I was going through, picking through all the 21, trying to figure all that out. And, ended up after about a year, there was a couple of the family members that were helping me, but I was getting met with a lot of resistance from quite a few of them as well. Then I decided, well, I submitted because I'd done all the uploads, you gone through my heritage and my living DNA and family tree DNA and GEDmatch and all that other stuff, and ended up submitting to 23andMe and found 2 half sisters that I'd never met. So, yeah. So, and then which led me to their father. So, but they haven't really talked to him in about 15 years. They were pretty detached from him. I think with alcoholism and some other stuff going on, I don't really know, but he left at a young age, and they're not very close with him. So,
You contacted your 2 half sisters.
yes. Well, the first one, she came in at a match of 1,230 centimorgans, which was low. So I was like, oh, maybe this is an aunt or something, but she was younger than me. And so I was thinking, well, maybe it's just a first cousin or something, and then as I was messenger, she wasn't really responding much at first. And then about 5 days later, which is actually tomorrow, will be the 2-year anniversary that the second sister popped in as a half sibling at like 1,700 and some odd. Pretty much the same as my brother and my sister one of my sisters that I was raised with. And it said that I got in there and looked, and it said that they were full siblings. So at that point, I knew what I was dealing with.
Is your birth father still alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. I talked to him. I ended up in contact with him that night. Just sent him a message, do you remember so and so from Idaho? And he said, yeah, I did. And he's, what's this about? And so yeah. So I sent him like screenshots of the results. He's like, so are you saying that you're related to me? It's like, yes. So, but he's got the stage 4 COPD or whatever it is. And so he's kind of living on borrowed time, we think. So I'm actually getting ready to head over to Seattle here in the next few days to actually meet him. So
Will that be your first time meeting him, or have you met him
I haven't
before?
met him yet. Nope. With COVID, of course, that kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
pressed everything back. I was going to go before, and then he got sick, and I don't know if the sickness has been what's the deterrent, or if I don't really know at this point. Um, why there's been some resistance. I know his mother, so my grandmother, she was still alive until she passed away back in first part of March of this year. So
Did you get a chance to talk to her?
I did not. So she was in a home. She'd ended up having dementia, so that ended up being her downfall. So
Mm.
I haven't really talked to too much of his family. Mostly a few cousins and his stepmother. She's still alive because his dad got divorced and remarried and had a couple more kids with another wife. And so, but his siblings from both sides have been um, hesitant. They're not really wanting to talk to me. So I
Yeah.
think there's some money things and stuff that everyone's being kind of suspicious about and stuff. But I mean, I own my own business. I have my own life. I just want to know where I come from. So
Absolutely. You deserve that information.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then finding out other things of heart conditions and cancers and other stuff that just weren't in my family history before, so I had no idea.
Are you going out there alone
Yeah,
next week, or
yeah.
are you bringing your wife?
I'm probably just going to make the trek by myself this time. So just with circumstances, I still don't really know what to feel and believe yet. So I'm still trying to figure it out. So I tried to go a couple times,
Same.
and it's like down to the last minute he cancels on me, and so the hesitant part has kind of made me kind of wonder, if if you're that reluctant, then what's your problem?
Yeah.
So because he's changed his story a couple times. I know he's got some alcoholism as well and stuff. So
It's like you have to stay kind of guarded,
yeah,
a little protective with your relationship with him.
yeah, yep, yep. Which is exactly how my two sisters are, and so that's been an interesting situation. Having to keep all that stuff compartmentalized. Like my relationship
Yeah.
with them is my relationship with them, and his with them is his and theirs and not mine. And I don't want to know either side of it. I just want to know you guys, and that's all that really matters to me.
Have you met them in person yet?
I have not, but that's going to happen this summer. They live just a few hundred miles away, so not too far. Where he lives, like 900 miles away from me. He lives over there, over in Seattle. They live up in Montana.
And how about I know you have a half brother. I think you have a half sister from your original.
Yes, yeah, from my original. So
Mhm.
I have one half brother and four half sisters from my mother,
Okay.
and then the other
And
two new ones. So now six total sisters and one brother.
six sisters and one brother. Do they know about each other?
They do. My other sisters from my mother are quite a bit younger than me. The oldest one, I was 10 when she was born, and so I have one child that's actually older than my youngest sibling.
How are your siblings and mom um, regarding all of this news? Is this stuff you can talk about freely?
Yeah, yeah. For the most part, it is. I've talked to my dad that raised me, my birth certificate father. Um, we finally sat down and had a talk it was right before I discovered, who the identity was. Cause I just was like, kept running into wall after wall, and some of his family just didn't want to, we were having a hard, he had like two cousins that were helping me out. Um, and no one else wanted to help us. And you figure like between my biological father and his cousins, and then I guess it would be my cousins through that, there's over 300 people.
Hmm.
So, I mean, 21 kids had a lot of kids
Oh my gosh.
who had a lot of kids. And so,
Wait, you have like 300 cousins?
yeah, it's huge.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
huge. And so it turns out I actually have some first cousins. So my biological father has an older sister, and it's full from his dad's first marriage, and they actually live. They actually grew up like 45 miles away from me. I didn't know any of them. I have met them, two of them, anyways. Um, and so they've been pretty good, but their mom won't talk to me. So
She won't talk to you. She just doesn't
no,
want to acknowledge that
yeah,
you are
yeah,
part of the. Okay.
yeah. I think that there's like on one side there's like my grandfather was pretty successful, owned a few service stations and um, like an automotive radiator welding shop and a farm with a bunch of like prize horses. And so there's a lot of money on that side. And then on my biological grandmother who just died, her family, of course, helped settle a lot of North Dakota as well. And so there's a lot of oil rights in there as well. And so I think that between the two families, there's a lot of like inheritance type things that everybody signed up for. And so they feel like I'm a threat of coming in. But I told them, I'm like, I'll sign a waiver right now and sign it all. I don't care. Like that's not important to me.
Yep.
Like I wasn't raised that way. That's not my past. I mean, you people are my past, but that's not my past. So it's not important.
Yeah, and it's sad that you have to even say that if they're so protective of it, but it's always a good idea to just
Right.
let it be known. I'm not looking for anything.
Yeah. Like more so, I just want to meet you guys,
Yep.
like growing up all those years, um, like I always felt like I wasn't where I was supposed to be, even though like, I mean, I was with my people, like you still feel like you're not with your people, you know, um, like growing up, we would get in trouble. We would do things, and if my little brother was the one who done it, he would just get a little swat and go to bed. But if it was me, it was bad. So he would step up and say, well, I did it, it wasn't him, I did it. So and so he'd take the fall for me a lot as kids. So even though we had different dads, him and I, we're still really close.
So you spent a lot of your life thinking this other man was your birth father. Was his
Yeah.
name Roy?
Roy. Mm-hmm. Yep.
That committed suicide? Yes. Why? I mean, I can guess, but why do you think your mom told you that he was your birth father?
But um, maybe because I'm a little bit darker complected with dark hair and dark eyes, and the person. So this other person, his name is Dennis. It turns out him and Roy were roommates and best friends at the time. Being
So
the
you're
early '70s,
oh,
things were wild.
I get the connection. So your birth father and who you thought was your birth father
They were.
for many years. Okay, we're roommates.
Yep. Yep.
Okay.
So when they both got in trouble and fled, you know, um, they were both like 20, 21, where I guess he was actually like 19 and 20, but those two were because my mom was 17. So
Do you think your mom ever told either of them or just your birth certificate father?
she didn't tell either one. So talking with Dennis, when I first found him, he said, I'd heard that your mother had gotten pregnant and moved away to Las Vegas. So he's right about that part because that's where I was born. Um, and he's like, but rumor was, that it could have been mine or it could have been his. Like no one knew, but so I don't know. I had wondered though if, I don't know. It's always those things that play in your mind. Well, how come she told me this other guy, and how come this and that. And with his story changing a couple times, it's like, what did you do? Like what's the truth? But coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Yep.
So
Have you told your family or your kids
yeah,
at
yeah,
all
they
about
all
this?
know. So they all actually gotten really close to Roy's sister. My aunt that lives in Arizona.
Oh,
That one was the hard one.
yeah, that's hard.
We'd gotten really close, the last 20 years.
Oh.
And so then, having to go back and tell her and her, because he had another sister as well, and telling them, having to go back and telling them that I'm not actually, their brother's kid, and they kind of felt like they had gotten part of their brother back. So that was a hard one.
Oh.
So, but, they said, nothing changes, we're still family. You can't change, 20 years of history. So,
yeah.
it was at least a year before I told her, because I wanted to make sure. Because the funny part is that at first I was wondering maybe one of them was an NPE.
Oh, yeah.
Because it was the war and there's guys over there, and maybe their mom had seen another guy too. Maybe they didn't have the same dad or something,
Yep.
So I was trying to really figure it out before I had to go break some news to her and take it in a whole other direction. Which I hadn't even really even heard of the NPE thing yet. I think it was pretty close around the time that I actually discovered who my biological father was, when I'd actually even heard the term by that point, I think. It was really interesting to how I was going through family trees and, comparing centimorgans and doing all that, and then seeing all the work that C.C. Moore's done.
Now, who is that? C.C. Moore. That sounds familiar.
C.C. Moore, genetic detective. She does a lot of genetic stuff. She actually helps her solve quite a few murders with, what is it, paraben? Well, she has a TV show.
Okay.
Yeah, the DNA detectives or genetic detectives or something like that. So she's been in the groups and in the NPE groups on Facebook as well. So she actually helped solve a murder that happened here. Actually, I don't know if you've heard of the Chris Tapp, Angie Dodge murder.
No. What? Say the names again.
Chris Tapp, he's a local that I grew up with, and he spent 20 years in prison for murder he didn't commit because he got coerced into a false confession.
Oh.
And so the girl's mother went through and was watching all the interrogations, and she, after watching about 10 hours of interrogation videos, she's like, this kid isn't the one who killed my daughter. And so she was actually ended up becoming his biggest advocate to help him actually get out. And ended up catching another guy. He's on trial right now. His name is Brian Drips. And he actually had raped and killed Angie Dodge. So
I think I've been seeing this in the headlines. Oh, this is fascinating. Okay, and it was all because of, and so
just doing the same things that we do when we go on the hunts of trying to figure out who these people are in our family trees.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So.
Yeah, you really sound like you've had to learn a lot about centimorgans. Sounds like what the relations and what you're talking about.
Yeah, it was a heck of a hunt. So.
Well, I just want to give you all my good thoughts with your impending visit to meet your birth father. Yeah. And I would be a range of emotions if I were you. Nervous, excited, who knows, guarded, all of them.
Yep. It's interesting though with these people, because when I was searching through, because I was doing all the Facebook stalking of different people, and it's even though I'm digging through his cousin's family members, I'm seeing traits oh look, there's my hands, oh look, is that my earlobe, you're trying to figure this out, which one of these people?
Yeah.
And like I said, it was such a huge group of people, so it was nice to have a couple of them helping me out though. So I think I shipped off probably 5 or 6 different tests to people that I paid for and shipped to them, trying to, all right, who's next of the 21 to talk to me a little bit, and let's see if we can get a closer hit. So,
that is so interesting.
3 of those before the 23andMe thing happened that actually sped up the process, because it probably would have been another year or 2 at least at that point had we not gotten any of them. So I guess that's one of the things I would definitely tell people to do if you're searching and stuff. Submit and upload to everything you can. So.
So yeah, you did your 23andMe, and that's so interesting. Your half sisters must have decided to do that one.
And they just barely submitted theirs too. They actually got them as gift as Christmas presents. So I just decided to do it, for heritage stuff because they weren't very close to their dad's side of the family, and
Mm-hmm.
so
Yep, that's a great tip. Submit your DNA, do all the databases so you can get hopefully a closer hit. If people want to get in touch with you, Jason, ask you new questions, find out more, could they do that?
Yeah. Just go ahead and post my email. It's just JACSONWALL@gmail.com.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing where you're at. I'm nervous for you about your visit and happy for you that you're meeting your half sisters hopefully this summer when things get.
It's been really nice. They've been really welcoming. The older one that I matched to first, she was pretty closed off at first. She was the one that's a little harder to break through, but once you do, she's a little more passionate about it.
How long did that take?
It took, well, I mean, they were talking to me pretty quickly, but she was just real hesitant, where the other one was like talking to me right off the bat. But now, like with the younger one, she's kind of the same, just consistent. The other one's like a little more like loving and welcoming. And so the one that's hard to break through, but once you do,
once you're in. It takes a while though. Yep.
Where the other one, she'll talk to you, she's there, but she'll just kind of keep it this certain length. She's like a little more longevity guarded.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, will you shoot me an email and let me know how your visit goes once things calm down? I'd love to hear more about it.
Yeah, definitely will. So, going through it twice, it was really hard the first time, and then the second time you're like, here comes back all these feelings again.
Gosh, a double NPE.
Explain, how you feel, and it's hard, because if a lot of other people know who both their parents are, and it's different. You always hear like everyone mentions, well, you're still the same person, but you're really not. You are, but you're not. It's hard to explain if working through it.
I'm sorry you had to go through this twice as a double NPE. I'm so sorry.
It's getting easier now, so just got to get that trip done so that I can at least try to close one part of it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
All that you do as well. I really, really enjoy your stories.
These stories are here for us to identify with. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, email npestories@gmail.com. You do not have to give any identifying information. If you are an NPE and would like to share your story, I'd like to hear from you. Subscribe to this podcast to hear more. Come heal with us.